a fart. Thinking it was just a fart and not a shit. I shit my pants. Hey. There's a particular player's absence which I miss dearly, who to me is the premier stairs player, but in his place, I will accept Dan. Dan is our premier stairs player for the time being. Versus Freshwater, who is making a log chain, because he can get away with it. Dan getting the, perfect green-blue piece to set off that chain, but not enough to, you know, not chaining long enough, not chaining high enough. Alright, Freshwater already extending onto the second floor. Empty space for that tail. Opting to set this off. Seeing an opportunity. And there is indeed an opportunity. The blue extension not happening there for Dan. Setting up 5 chain not going to be enough.
And today's winner is...
Dan has an extension on floor 2. If he opts to actually just transition into the sandwich form at the top there, instead of hard committing to the stairs form. Lots of burned pieces on Dan's end.
And today's winner is...
And it's not like there aren't ways of adapting stairs to, you know, to not quite getting the right pieces, but it's certainly a little bit more rigid depending on what pieces you were made to commit to in the first place. Dan missing a big chunk of the chain with those yellows. Thinking if they need the purples to set that off, but not quite getting that out quickly enough. Okay. Needing... Dan kind of blocked off here with, like, really needing a green, and these greens aren't coming. Pops that yellow. Gonna need to put a red on top of the green. And that long chain is gonna be plenty of time. So here comes the main chain. And it's an 8. It's a 9. Freshwater having enough damage to turn it away from a star and back into rocks, but not necessarily to counter the 9 after he built a 7. Freshwater rushing with this 7, with this 8 actually. Oh, it is a 7. Okay. Trying not to give Dan too much time to build.
How's that? And today's winner is...
Okay. Lots of reds. Just opting to set that up just because of the sheer number of reds. Oh no! Freshwater up 5, Dan up 1. This is a first to 9. I don't have enough screenshot space. Okay. Okay. This music's very exciting. Freshwater has a green that they want to put in column 2. Okay, burn the green. Blocked off that column 2. And here comes the main chain. That block off is gonna be tough, especially with those burned reds. To not using it to open up the blues. Definitely, you know, time is of the essence for there. That would have gotten a little bit of a, you know, given Freshwater a little bit of a fighting chance for that one. These one-chain cleanups kind of forcing out a chain from Dan, who's not ready for the full chain. Sorry, forcing out a full chain from... The one chains are from Dan and the full chain was forced out from Freshwater. That's what I mean. Ugh, not again. That's certainly a choice for music. Okay, so what Freshwater wants to do to make sure that chain connects all the way down is to put a separate color in on top of column 2 and then put a blue on top of there. This is a 4 chain. That's a 6.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh, too bad.
Did I not bring my purse upstairs? Oh man, I should have done that. Okay, let's see how much Freshwater is cooking with this tail. Doesn't seem like it will necessarily resolve into a tail.
And today's winner is...
Ah, missing that all clear by just 1 piece. But perhaps, unfortunately, alas.
How's that?
Oopsie.
Freshwater's gonna have to switch to stairs in order to, resuscitate this chain because, he committed too hard to those all clear fishes.
Oh boy.
That height difference is gonna help a lot. Kind of a, not necessarily a dig, not yet. Getting a nice 3 chain out of that damage chain. Kind of accelerated into the late game here. Freshwater gonna break a lot of that original chain in order, with that pop. Just interesting. Doing cleanup with that chain, but and then of course those garbage placements aren't gonna. I'm sorry for the sluggish commentary. I had hoped it would be a little better. The action's getting very high, especially with the pivot. With the stairs pivot. Okay, the Freshwater got kind of a dangerous extension with those greens on the side there. It gets the extension anyway. Doesn't have the purple at the top to finish out that chain. Dan currently up this set. Freshwater aiming for a good tail, converts that tail into a harassment. Follows up with the 5 chain, also the 4 chain.
And today's winner is
taking that next game, Freshwater at match point. Still got that GTR open. Doesn't opt to use that double red to finish out the tail. Another disconnect. Okay, I have an incredible idea. Okay? A little tough with the 5, but like that really high up green asks for like a very fast response. Dan has the remaining 4 chain. And it's like sometimes you really wish that one extra 1 chain was like anything at all. But sometimes it's not. Alright, Dan setting off this 2. And this might be Dan a little bit, you know, I would imagine Dan a little tense here, because, you know, he's got Freshwater on the ropes. The one downside is that there are loading screens in between sets. I don't think that's gonna quite be the tail that Freshwater wants it to be, especially with using the blues to extend at the top there.
How's that? Science. Cerulean.
Here I go.
Lapis Lazuli. Celadon.
Very fine.
Freshwater getting a 6 chain versus Dan's 7.
How's that? Science.
3 chain response isn't going to be enough to fend that off. Getting the 2 chain with the reds there, very cute. But this 3 chain, he's not gonna have enough resources to fend that off.
Too bad.
Yay!
So we're at 2. As we know, Dan needs 2 more to win, and Freshwater just needs to take 1.
How's
2 chain
that?
harassment for the cleanup. Extension
How's that?
conversion into harassment. Checking to see if he's blocked off. With a 3 chain response. Oh, well, that was actually a dig from Dan, who's not as blocked off as he looked.
Oh boy.
Digging with the stairs can be very challenging on account of the very flat nature of the stack, but that kind of unevenness. Dan's looking to kind of reverse sweep this right now, as we're at match point for both players. Now, Freshwater can put a purple in columns 4 and 5 and still get the tail there, actually, but a bit of a tall tail there. Funny to me.
How's that?
Now, starting to look like Freshwater might lock in for this one. This big 3 chain, this big 4 chain is going to set up all that damage, and Freshwater's going to finally take that after the 8-8. Completely on the ropes, and I can quit spectating and you can quit out of those sets. And that sure was a winner's finals. So Freshwater will be going to Grand's finals